Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I think I'm 2 minutes late. I apologize. With that, we'll go ahead and call this session of the February meeting of the Board of Commissioners to order. And I would like to ask, first of all, let me see if I can find my agenda. I have no lack of paper on this desk. Ms. Clark.
Should be to the right of you, to state the phone number.
Thank you. All right, with this, call this meeting to order. I'll also remind the members of the Garrett County Board of Commissioners that hereby the duty under the State Government Ethics Act to avoid conflicts of interest and the appearance of such conflict, and further are instructed to refrain from participating in any matter coming before this Board of County Commissioners with respect to which there is a conflict of interest or appearance of such conflict. This time, I would ask that Commissioner Williams lead us in the invocation. I'd like to ask Commissioner Orr if she would lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. All would stand, please.
Merciful, gracious God, we come to you this evening, Lord. We ask you, Lord, that you'd be with our community, Lord. There's been many loved ones lost, Lord. Lord, and we just ask you to be with those families, Lord. And we ask you, merciful God, that you'd be with us as a board, Lord, that we would do what was best for the most in Fort Graham County, Lord. Because, Lord, we love the county and its people, Lord, and we want to do what's right for them, Lord. Again, thank you for everything. In your holy name, amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. At this time, I would ask that we have a motion for the approval of the agenda as presented. Have a motion, have a second. Is there discussion, Ms. Clerk? We did have change.
We do have change. We need to move Claudia Birchfield with DSS Director into 8A, if that's okay.
Okay.
Hers was not pertaining to close, so they needed to be a,
Okay. I'm glad that's caught. All right. With that, still motion. We have a second. Any other changes? Okay, all approved? All opposed? Okay, motion carries. This time, I'd like to ask a motion, entertain a motion for approval of the minutes of the regular and workshop meeting minutes of January the 23rd and continued meeting of January 24th, special meeting of February the 4th.
So moved.
Have a motion? Any comments, questions? All approved? All opposed? Thank you. This time we'll recognize our finance officer, Rebecca Garland, for our finance report. Ms. Garland. Good evening.
Okay, I've got several items, but hopefully they won't take too long. I did want to report before I go into our financial highlights that the audit report for June 30th, 13 was accepted on January 31st by the Local Government Commission. We were given a unit letter because of the Rural Development Authority caused us to be late. But I think everything is beginning to, or is pretty much getting on track with the RDA so that hopefully they won't have that issue this coming year. I think they're meeting a little more regularly now and getting some controls in place so that they hopefully won't get any kind of a unit later. But just to give you a quick recap, the Graham County's governmental funds operated at a surplus last year of $1,285,000. That brought our fund balance to $5,369,000. And of course, that ever elusive percentage that we were going after, we were at 24%, which is a much higher percentage than where we've been in the past. And I did a little quickie research out on the State Treasurer's website. Units of our category population averaged about 25% for the year ended 11/12. So we're right there in the ballpark, which is really good news. I'm real pleased with that. And basically, the way they look at that is your unrestricted fund balance against your expenditures. They take a ratio, And of course, our unrestricted fund balance was right at 3.2 million. We have lots of restrictions for different categories. And what they look at is what is our available fund balance if we need it for a rainy day. So I was real pleased with that, and as I said, the only write-up we got was on account of the fact that we didn't, the RDA, they had to pull it in as a component unit, and they weren't quite ready when we were ready, and it kind of put our audit report to be late. So I think in overall, we're in real good standing with the local government commission, and I think they're very pleased with the progress that we've made overall.
Great.
Just to look at our financial highlights through today, our cash on page 1 at the end of January was at $6.2 million. And I think that's the highest it's been since I came on board in 2009, so I was real pleased with that. This time last year, we were at 5.5 million, a couple of years back, 4.6 in January. So that's a good place to be as we go into the spring months, because our revenues are going to drop off like a cliff. January and December are usually our biggest months for tax collections because of the due date. If you want to flip to page 3, talking about tax collections, our current year taxes were at $672,000. We collected $7,000 in back taxes in January for a total of $679,000. And our DMV continues to track upward with the VTS system. We collected almost 34,500. So that's boosting our fund balance and making our collection rate look higher. If you want to flip to page 4, we have collected a total of $5,049,000, right at $5,050,000 in taxes for the fiscal year so far. And that's in real property. Our DMV was at $231,000. We are tracking about $258,000 ahead of this time last year for real, and right at $62,000 for DMV. Our collection rate for the real category is 89.15%, which is a little lower than this time last year. But if you compare the levies, our levy was at 5.5 and some change this year compared to right at 5.2 last year. So that dilutes your percentage at times. What will determine the final percentage will be what we're able to do with the remaining balance. If you look right below, we have $586,000 in current taxes still outstanding, so we've got to still keep pushing and getting those collected. And prior year taxes are $272,000. We have collected $112,000 in back taxes since July 1 by putting the foreclosure process into motion. And I was hearing today, I think there's one that's kind of hanging out there. It's going to be around 40. It will be collected soon.
That was in real, will be
Yeah,
40,000.
yeah. So that'll pull
Excuse me,
that.
Becky, may I
balance
jump in there? I hate to interrupt, but
Uh-huh.
in that line item we had budgeted last year, that we took a step out there
Mhm.
about that. Was that 200,000 or 300,000?
300,000. So if we get that NREM, that'll get us halfway where we need to be. But what we got to do is just keep pushing and getting those processed and work through as quickly as we can. I don't know that we'll hit that 300,000 mark. We were trying to be optimistic. And I'm not sure that we'll hit that, but I know that the tax office is working really hard to get those processed and in place.
Okay, thank you.
But I felt pretty good that with that, we haven't actually completed, I don't think we've had one foreclosure yet till we really get the 112 by just beginning that process. That helps a lot. Page 5 is our revenues versus expenditures for the month of January. We collected in revenues $1,650,000. Our expenditures were $1,043,000 for a surplus of $608,000. That brings us on page 6 to a year-to-date surplus of $2.474 million in surplus. We are lower this year in revenues, but we've also reduced expenditures, and basically where that's coming from is where we were pulling those transit revenues and expenditures through the system as we were constructing that building. Okay, and then sales tax gave us a rebound. I was really pleased with this. We had, this would have been for the month of December. We collected on February the 15th, $116,000 in sales tax, which brings us to a positive variance for the first time this year. We are now 8,400, right at 8,500 ahead of this time last year in sales tax. And I was really pleased because I've been kind of with bated breath of wanting to see what December looked like. And of course, that Christmas gave us that boost. And where I'm seeing the boost is I'm thinking, well, people spent a whole lot more here as much as they could. Yeah, which is good. And I'm really pleased that our citizens are seeing the necessity of keeping our retail as much as we can local. That's all for the highlights. If there are any questions? Okay, I've got you a budget report. This is through yesterday. Of course, our ideal remaining percentage on the budget is 37%. We do have some departments that I've highlighted that are running ahead of the 37%. A lot of those have had big upfront expenditures, and I've also gone ahead and encumbered any debt service into those budgets so I can project out what we're looking at. One in particular, I'm gonna, at the end of the year, I'll be making an adjustment for 9/11 staff costs, so that'll correct that one. My budget's ahead, but I went ahead and paid the audit off, and so that pretty well sinks my budget. But most everybody's staying within that percentage. The county in total for the budget is at 39% remainder. So we're staying right at budget. Of course, the next few months are going to be really critical, and Greg, Mr. Cagle and I are going to be working and looking at these really closely because it's budget season again, believe it or not. We'll be sending out templates, I hope, by no later than the middle of March. I'm hoping to get them out by the beginning of March. And having departments, probably having some department meetings to get them on track on what they need to be looking at as far as revenue projections and so forth, and what we're projecting our, whatever shortfall we may be looking at. Hopefully we won't, but I'm afraid we will. I always go in with an optimistic mindset and I always get disappointed. but we'll be beginning to start thinking about those long work sessions.
One thing too, Becky, that comes to mind with that, I know it's probably going to be an extra load for everybody, but if on the, this live system we have with regard to that, would it be possible to have kind of a quick lesson on that? Mm-hmm. Because I have some interest in seeing how that works
right.
myself.
I think we finally have everything to the point. I was talking to Taylor about it the other day of getting licensed to where if you guys are at home and you want to log in, I think we're finally where we need to be, software-wise and hardware-wise, to give y'all that capability. And then I'll be more than glad to show you through the ropes on how to log in and what we need to do to.
I mean, just very simple.
Yeah.
Kind of.
I'll get you. I use cheat sheets. That's what I do.
Well,
so.
okay. I can go with that then.
So,
and two, Becky, to mention, and I was at the office the other day, we have done in-house payroll now for a third cycle.
yes.
And it's working well.
Yes.
Well, that's good. That means in-house, not having to pay somebody else to do it.
Exactly.
That's great.
Yes.
I'm glad you did. I'm
So
sorry.
we're really excited about that. It was a hard process to convert, just because Michelle and I are very detail oriented, and so what we did is we ran the first payroll for the year under the outsourced system, and then ran the new parallel, and then went side by side and audited every line item. So it took about 2 weeks, didn't it?
Wow.
I was working nonstop to get everything, to make sure the setup was right. But now we're beginning to feel the joy of it. Instead of having to make multiple journal entries, we're able to hit and process and get it updated into the system. And that keeps the budgets up to date better for the departments too. They're not having to wait on us to get those payroll numbers in to project out where they need to be. So it's been a hard year, but we're about halfway through.
That's
Which I
good.
knew it would be, but I'll be glad to see the end of it. In here?
Just the numbers on the check.
Oh, on how they print. Well, what we'd like to see people do is do direct deposit more and more.
Ah, okay.
That saves paper, saves checks, but anyway. But we do have our software person coming out next week. She's gonna be showing me more things about the budgeting side, and we'll try to get her to see if she can help us figure out how to just tweak the setup there. One other item, as far as budget's concerned, I did have one budget amendment, number 10. And last meeting, the Board of Commissioners approved providing an appropriation to the Heritage Festival of $2,000. So this is my budget amendment for that. Just follow that approval before I make that expenditure.
You have time to do these.
I've got two ladies.
Yeah, there's two late right here we can do. All right, first of all, can we go ahead and act on that, or you have
Sure.
something else to
I
present?
just have one quick thing after that.
Okay, with that, we'll go ahead and act on this, Ms. Clerk, if we can. Those amendments are, one amendment 10. Do I have a motion that we accept the amendment as proposed?
So moved.
We have a motion, we have a second. Okay, any discussion or comment? All approve? Okay, all opposed, thank you. Go ahead and sign this. All right, Ms. Garland?
And one more item, this came in after I put everybody's packets together. Our billing company has sent us the new rates for EMS billing, and of course, every year, the government will do a percentage increase on rates for Medicare and Medicaid. And if you look at the first column, you'll see the rates as they are currently. And then what they do is take 130% of what the super rural rates are to create the billing rate for, that we have as we stand right now. So where it says current charge resident, for example, in ALS, is 404.12. Of course, then we make a adjustment for non-resident rates. That's the next column. And then they're recommended 130% of the super rural. So where we are, for instance, for ALS is 404.12. They're recommending we go to 408.76, and then they would make this further adjustment for the non-resident. The ALSE is 639.85. They recommend it going to 647.20. The LSNE is 336.77. They take it up about $2.50 for 340.63. The LSE is 538.82 to 545.01. ALS2 is from 926.10 to 936.74. And then the rural mileage, I'm not sure, I'm gonna have to ask her what it says urban mileage or rural mileage 18 plus, 1396, and then I don't think they've adjusted that one correctly, 940, not sure. Oh, okay, 723 to 9, I don't know, that one doesn't look correct, but anyway, the rural mileage is the one we use, the very bottom is 1396 currently, and they recommend one to 1411. So I just need a board action at some point. You don't have to take action this evening, or you can say we can leave them where they are.
But what it boils down to, that's what they're telling us. In other
Exactly.
words, there's not a debate.
That's a recommended, because they basically say, we need to work off whatever the current Medicare, Medicaid rates are. And if we don't shift, then we're kind of lagging behind what the government's willing to pay for an EMS run.
And that's that generates the revenue.
Exactly,
The sooner the better.
exactly.
Right.
But I don't want to push it because this is your first glance at it.
Well, I understand, but there's not going to be any wiggle in it, right?
Not really.
Anybody have a question about, this is what they're going to pay. Might as well. Okay, is that agreeable? We'll go ahead and take action on this then. All right, we have a motion then. We have adjustments for the Medicare allowable amounts. Have a motion. Have a second. All right, any discussion or comment, questions from Ms. Garland? Okay, all approve? All opposed? Thank you. All right, and with that, anything else?
That's all I have for now. I do
All right.
have one item for closed. but-
Okay, all right, we'll deal with that in place. Thank you. All right, we'll continue with our agenda. Thank you, Ms. Garland. This time I'd like to recognize someone I just met a few minutes ago. It's Brandon Wilson. He is here speaking to, he's our representative for the Veterans Office. I'd like to welcome him, and I'm glad I got to meet you. And he's going to do a short presentation for us.
Chairman, Commissioners, I appreciate y'all having me here today. First thing I want to do is really thank Mr. Cable's office, his whole staff. Really, since I've come on board with the state as a district officer, they've opened their office up and pretty much given me anything I needed in order to make the job work on my end. I also like to thank Ms. Connie Ward and Mr. Harold Phillips here. They're both very big advocates here in Graham County for your veterans. What I'm going to give you today is just a simple report. This report is a VA expenditure list by county, and this is a 2012 report. 2013 has not come in yet. In 2012, there was $3,952,000 of VA money that was brought in to Graham County to the veterans and their dependents of Graham County. That's $3,952,000. Now, I know that's not money that is tangible for the commissioners or the government here, but that is money that's coming in that's being spent here in Graham County. It is paying your taxes, it is eating at Lynn's restaurant, so this is money that is coming into surplus for the county. Of that $3 million, close to $4 million, $1.9 million of that was for compensation and pension. And what I mean by that is pension is an income-based benefit that veterans are entitled to. It's sort of like being on Medicaid. If you're below a certain income threshold, the VA will give you a certain amount of money for a wartime veteran. That is a pension. The disability is any disability that occurred while in the service, not necessarily combat. So there was $1,987,000 of that was brought in. $50,000 worth of education, and that means education not only for GI Bill, guys that are coming back from Iraq, Afghanistan, but for VOC Rehab, Chapter 33, Chapter 35. There are several other education programs out there, and that's where this $50,000 come in to Graham County. On the medical care side, there was $1,905,000 was brought into Graham County for medical care. And that medical care was utilized at the Asheville VA Hospital or at the Franklin CBOC, or if it was fee-based out to a local doctor in your community, because the VA can't do that at times for certain care, particularly because Graham County is so far away from the Asheville VA from the main facility. So on the number side, I just thought that y'all would like to know that, the commissioners would like to know that the services, the VA services that are provided here in Graham County is very vital to this community. $9 million, $3,952,000 is a lot of money to come into Graham County for surplus. And this is money that is not taxed to these veterans and their dependents. With that being said, what I give each one of y'all right there is an outreach that I'm doing March the 1st. And Mr. Cable's office has allowed us, we're going to use the senior community building here. And that outreach is important so we can grasp these benefits that a lot of people do not know about. A lot of veterans don't consider themselves veterans. A lot of women don't consider themselves veterans. A lot of people don't realize the benefits they're entitled to. Healthcare is a big one. A lot of people think that you have to be retired to get that health care. Or they were turned down 20 years ago when times were different. Well, now times have changed. Now they might be eligible for health care. Things change from day to day to day. So that's what's important about the outreach, and that's what I know your Commissioner Connie does quite a bit of, and Harold does quite a bit of, and that's something to be proud of. Besides the report here, I want to challenge you, the commissioners, to continue the support for veterans in your community. Not just because of the income it can bring in, but more importantly, it's the right thing to do for these people who stood up and said, raised their right hand and said, I'll die for this country. It's the right thing to do. It's why we're all here, sitting here right now. That's why when I leave here, I can head to get a Frosty on the way out of Wendy's. And a lot of us take that for granted. So take away the whole monetary amount coming in. It's the right thing to do for the citizens and their dependents of Grant County. So that's just what I wanted to report to you from the state. Encourage you to do. Y'all have any questions for me?
Well, there's just one comment I would make. You don't need to be a stranger. You know, really, and I also with Commissioner Orr, she's just kind of stepped up to the plate on it, and I so appreciate everything that she's done.
Well, I appreciate the support that y'all have given the Veterans Office and the Veterans of this county. Thanks. I'm not a great board to work with, I tell you right now.
And we really do need to know about what we can do more, you know, from the standpoint, a lot of times it's not just all money. You know, there are things that we could probably do, and if you don't know those things, you don't do them. And, you know, you get caught up in the heat of things sometimes, and you might miss an opportunity. So, the March 1st thing, I think, is really going to be good, and we need to do everything we can to make sure that all of our veterans in this community, you know, have an idea about that.
And the family members. I mean, a lot of people
Yeah.
that come in will be family members of your World War II Korean veterans that are unaware of their benefits, but you'll have their children come in and listen. If it picks up one person and I'm able to benefit one person, it's worth that outreach. So that's why, you know, if we get the community involved with that, that'd be outstanding. Hopefully, my agency right now is in the middle of a restructuring phase. So hopefully the way it lays out, hopefully you'll see a lot more of me. I'm going to try to make my presence known a little bit more, particularly in these western counties that don't have a full-time accredited service officer. Hopefully I won't be a stranger for you, Mr. Evans.
All right. Well, that's great, and I know that you'll have contact with Connie Orr as much as possible, and we can be aware of that. But I appreciate you coming today, and it was a pleasure getting to know you. And any of the other board members have comment, questions?
I'd just like to thank all of them, even Harold.
Yeah, absolutely. Even Harold. That's backhanded, you know. But that's good. I do appreciate our veterans without a shadow of doubt.
And
Okay.
thank you, Brandon.
Thank you.
Brandon is 100%, 110% committed to our veterans and helping them, and it's good to have someone like that at your back. I got a call, what day was it, Brandon? An emergency in another county. And they called me and I called Brandon. He was snowed in, but it's been taken care of by way of phone and internet communications, so.
That's great. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you for your time.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Brad.
All right, with that, we'll move on to the agenda. We have now recognized Ms. Jones Stillwell, who will give us a report on some issues dealing with the CDBG. Welcome.
Thank you. We have been operating under our last plans and programs that we've got with our current CDBG grants, the senior center and our last scattered site housing grant. But we've got to adopt these new, it's the same policies and plans or certifications. It's just that we've got to adopt them for this new grant for the 2012 scattered site housing grant. And with that, we can also use it in our senior center. We will update that grant, although we don't like much to do with that. Anyway, the first one is the residential anti-displacement and relocation assistance plan and certification. Now, this is all CDBG stuff. It has really not a lot to do with anything other than the CDBG, the grants. And that is, it is our standard anti-displacement. It's just that we're going to replace any homes that we're going to demolish. We're going to replace them within a certain length of time, and we've got, of course, to adhere to our deeds of trust that it will remain a low income home for a period of 10 years, and it's a one-on-one replacement. So if they've got 3 bedrooms, they get a 3-bedroom house back, unless they choose a small house to downsize. The next one is our code of conduct, the Hatch Act policy, that is no employees, officer, or agent of the county shall participate in the selection or award or administration of the contracts supported by the federal funds if a conflict of interest, real or apparent, would be involved. So that's another one of the plans that's got to be adopted. The next one is the optional coverage relocation plan resolution. And this again deals with the replacement of the dwelling as we take them down and go back with the new home. And then the optional coverage relocation plan, if the homeowner has a place that they can live, then we give them a fixed moving expense payment according to the number of rooms in their house, excluding the bathrooms and closets. We don't pay that for that, but they get a certain dollar amount to help them move. If they don't want to buy a washer and dryer, they can. to put in their house or whatever, but they are entitled to that through the grant. And that's the school.
Okay. Now, I pretty much, I hear you say, Joan, that these are right here pretty much boilerplate, that these were the same type of requirements that we had on previous CDBG scattered site.
Yes,
Exactly.
unless they have, it is the same ones unless they send a template out where they have changed something on it.
Okay.
But these are not, these are the same, exact
Okay.
same.
And one other thing I would ask too is that I've seen the word resolution on this. Is that going to be the requirement that we have resolution?
You'll just
And
adopt
for-
the plans as it is.
Okay, all right, so that would be understanding that. And then this has already started as you're speaking, okay? All right, well then I understand that. So we can go ahead and have this as an action item, or is that something we act on later, Ms. Clerk?
We can do it now.
All right, okay, Joan, do you have anything else to tell us?
No.
All right, with that, it's pretty much a meeting in that, is there going to be, each of these have to have a separate motion, or we have those in package?
Four plans if you're.
You can
okay
read them
with that.
together.
Okay, all right, understanding that then, okay, we'll go ahead. Do we have a motion to entertain the CDBG approval of residential I'm going to read it, okay, anti-displacement and relocation assistance plan certification, also the Code of Conduct, Hatch Act, Policy, Community Development Program, optional coverage relocation plan resolution, and last but not least, optional coverage relocation plan community development program. We have a motion.
So moved.
Have a motion.
Second.
We have a second. Any questions or comments from Ms. Stillwell? All right, all approved? All opposed? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Joan. All right, at this time, I would like to recognize Ms. Claudia Birchfield. Claudia?
Let me call her.
We possibly do public comment while she's on her way. Or is that okay with the board? We go ahead and go to the next agenda item for public comment, and we'll listen to Claudia Birchfield when she arrives. Okay, there's no public comment this time. All right, with that, we'll go ahead and go into the discussion items, and there will be some action items required in this. The Senior Citizens Monthly Performance Status Report, that'll be the CDBG 10C 2231 and 12C 2417.
Yes, sir. On the monthly performance status report for grant number 12-C-2417, that is the CDBG to scattered site housing. Everything is on schedule. The demo of the current houses should be commencing fairly quickly now that the weather's broken. And the bid documents are in our office with the Economic Development Director. There will be a pre-bid meeting on Thursday, the 20th, and the bids will be open on the 27th. So that one is right on schedule. For CDBG grant 10-C-2231, that's the Graham County Senior Center. The certificate of occupancy has been granted to the building. It is completed. Senior Center staff have been actively moving into the new facility. There is going to be necessary for the board to come together and take a look at the building and look at a few items on the punch list to make sure that that those are going to be addressed before all final monies are allocated to the project. But as far as the operation of the building, it is open and it is available to be up and running.
Okay, as I understand, the CO had, as you said, has been issued on that,
Yes,
okay,
sir.
for occupancy. But two, we need to realize that we need to have a walkthrough with this board. Do we want to go ahead, Ms. Clerk, and schedule that, or do you want to wait and, schedule later?
No.
All right, when is going to be a good time for this board?
Any day.
I mean, I think it's good to make it possible this week. I'm obviously not determined,
Okay, the sooner the better. Okay then, so, do we possibly do that on Wednesday? Is that gonna work for Wednesday? This Wednesday, the day after tomorrow. Okay, can we do it in the morning sometime? That'd be all right? 10? 10 o'clock. Can we do it 10 o'clock, and then we'll do a walkthrough at 10 o'clock the morning, Wednesday, the 19th of February. All right, that's for a walkthrough. All right?
All right.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Just write down my notes there so I don't forget. Okay. Sir, if you'd like, DSS Director Claudia Birchfield is here. Would you like me to step away and let her address?
Yes, that'd be good. Thank you very much. And Ms. Clerk, while you're at there, I understand the next thing on our agenda is the discoveries and releases of discoveries, and I do not have a total. Thank you. Good. All right, Ms. Birchfield, we'll recognize you. Welcome.
Good evening.
Good
Hope you're all
evening.
doing well.
Good.
I come before you with a request from the Department of Social Services Board, which met on Monday, February 10th. We would like to request at this time that a building committee be formed in order to proceed forward with plans for a new DSS building. That's coming as a request from that board.
Okay, this is from the DSS board? Okay.
Buzz.
And what's it called? It's called a
A building committee.
building committee. I'm sorry, I know that. We've had several of those. Okay? Mr. Williams?
Are they found out there?
Becky, would you address that question?
Yeah, when you go into a building process for a DSS facility, once the building is constructed, then the depreciation, if we finance it, the depreciation and the interest will be brought back into the county through indirect costs from NCDHHS. So what the county would need to do would be, first of all, you need to figure out what it's gonna cost. And that would be what the building committee would help determine.
That's right.
And then, what we would do at that point would be sit down with our fiscal liaison with DHHS and work out with them a workable amount for, whatever the life of the building would be, probably 40 years, and then that would be captured in each month with our 1571. And, I'm not trying to push anything or push any agenda, but I think there's been some conversation in Raleigh about taking that away at some point in the future. So we would want to go ahead and get something, and I think you're talking out of turn, is that what
No, I think
you're hearing
that
as well?
the Department of Health and Human Services, they have changed more probably within the past year than they ever have, and those changes will continue as we move forward. So now is the time to begin these discussions and to get our plans together. And answer to your question, and just following up on what Becky said, this building committee, I do have information available on how we would draw those funds down and how we would do that. And it's something that would be presented to the building committee, and then the building committee as a group would come back and make a presentation to this board on behalf of the Board of Department of Social Services. Then we can follow up on any questions that you'd have based on that.
All right, Claudia, I sit here and I hear and understand that. But we, as a board, as we're sitting here, this is not a commitment.
Right.
But this is a study committee in more ways than one. And with what you just said with regard, now this is the reimbursement that we're talking about that might disappear. Is that a 1571?
That's 1571.
I get points for that. 1571s. And that means that if you go and spend X amount of dollars and it's computed that a certain percentage that the county gets refunded on that
on the 15th Century.
And what you're saying is that it's a possibility that the state of North Carolina could possibly say that we're not gonna do it anymore. And we don't know when?
We don't know when, but I think the conversation I've been hearing is that if you already have a structure in place that you're pulling those indirects down on, then that would continue, but after, a specific date, if they decide to cut it off, then
There'd be no new.
there'd be nothing for counties to do. But, just to give you an example, Haywood County recently pulled the health department and DSS under one roof. And we went out there about a year ago for some training and talked with some of their folks, and they basically said that because of it's about a half and half square footage, but, so they're pulling in those indirects for half of that facility, which is basically making most of the note payment on that facility, even though the health department is sitting there as well. But they're able to get enough appreciation and interest allocated to help fund that note payment on that. So that's how they were able to accomplish getting their facility under one roof.
And we have other counties that we can reach out to in this process. As she mentioned, Haywood County just converted the old Walmart building into their facility, and Cherokee County has recently, within the past 2 years, procured the real estate Remax building that's out on 64 West. And most recently, Clay County has built their own facility in their admin complex up on the hill there. So any and all of these would welcome any questions that we have in the process. Now, again, I want to be clear, we don't know that the funds are going to be stopped or when or if, but we know that this is a situation that we need to move forward on because we have a dire need for building. And I discussed that at the past board meeting, and the DSS board did request that I bring before you this request to move us forward.
Okay, and with this, there's a lot of things that have to be discussed. I mean, from where I'm looking at it, is a proposed site, is something that has to be talked about, and looking at it. And I would go with this idea of going to a building committee and being able to have a look at it. But as for commitment on part of this board to that, there'd have to be a lot of ifs, ands, buts, and maybes, and that, buddy, but we do have to start the process somewhere. And the next question that I would have as a board member is to want to know who, composed this committee. Who would you recommend that would be on the, quote, I call it the exploratory building committee? Who would be on that? Do you have an idea?
We do. I mean, there's several names that have come up, but I think that it would be premature to present that at this point. If you're interested in us proceeding forward, we would slate that list and bring it before you. I think, there's several people. Juanita's name has been mentioned because she's just been through the process with the senior center and some of the other things that have gone on there. Andy Cable with planning, his name has been mentioned before. David Hyatt with building inspections. There's just a number of names, but again, I think it's premature to say that the list is completely completed at this point. We're just bringing before you the request, and then we would move forward.
And well, my experience has been, in all honesty, is that we've generally had a project approved and ready to go before we had a building. So this is kind of a new looking creature to me, and I can understand that. And as far as I'm concerned, I would say that let's go ahead and explore it myself. But this board right here, we make a decision as a board.
A lot of the future capital projects and things like that, we have been addressing in the county. You've seen some of the design work we've done, which would incorporate a new DSS and other county offices. So there's plans, very preliminary type stuff where we've already been taking a look at new county facilities that are out there. So
I'm aware of that too.
And I think what this building committee would do would be to explore everything that's out there and to come back to this board and say, on behalf of the Department of Social Services, this is what's in the department's best interest as far as square footage, as far as future needs for staff, as far as this board is concerned, to meet requirements for HIPAA, for confidentiality, and cover all our bases as a board. And then that could be, used at a later time in planning. But to start down the road to a building, we have to start. So we need to take the first step.
How are the other board members feeling about this?
especially in light of the fund, in view of the fact that the funds are available now.
Okay.
Well, I tell you what I would like to see. I know where she's coming from, I know where she's got, but I'd like to see a committee formed for this facility and a jail with Andy, and Greg, and Claudia, and these, and even 180. And then some more that they might be, and pursue both of these while we're done.
Y'all put y'all in front of
Yeah.
You can't do, yeah, the funds won't come if you have to have.
No, I'm not talking, I'm talking about two separate ideas.
Okay.
You're not talking about.
But one committee, while they're working,
Yeah.
to look, as they're looking for funds and working for funds, to check on a jail as well as these. No connection, except the same board.
I think it's a very good point, Commissioner Williams, because, I mean, with the acquisition of county properties that we're currently, about to undertake, and with, addressing the needs that are within Graham County for adequate operational facilities, is something that is, we need to be able to sit down and present something to you, because, I mean, the inventory of land, available land, and existing buildings is something that, we need to be able to explore all options. We have needs for jail, DSS, administration, recreation, the list goes on and on. And, I'm absolutely for, from a manager standpoint, formation of a committee for all.
The only thing that I would follow up on there and ask is, as we proceed forward, since this has been brought before you from our DSS board, I can't speak for the jail and I can't speak for the sheriff. I don't know what he's been here before me and what's just been discussed there other than what I've read in the paper. But I know where my board stands and what their desire is, and they want to move forward. So I would like to ask that the DSS building be a start to this proposal. And that also, based on the fact that we have funds availability, if we go through the study and we begin these discussions, that we're not impeded in any way by what might or might not be brought forward in line with the jail.
I would have a recommendation to this, Commissioner Williams, if I could put that out there. This county for a good long while, and I know that our county manager has worked to try, to get this going. We need to have that plan. We need to have a capital building plan, capital outlay plan. We need to have an existing committee that does that. And I'm with Raymond on this, about the issue of jail, with the issue of other buildings that the county needs. But, and looking at it right here, under that, I could see with having a representative, I'm not forgetting about you, Claudia, but if we had a body that was active and in place to where there are things that we would want to plan to do. And one of the things that I've learned in the last 3.5 years is that you can have a dream and go out there, but you're going to have to do it on the basis of a contingency. You're going to have a plan out there to start seeing about what you can and cannot do and start putting toward it. We need a jail, and we also need a DSS facility. We need a lot of other things too. So what I would like to recommend, Commissioner Williams, if you would, in your proposal, is to say that we would have an existing capital projects plan. And I know, Lord, there's another plan. But the thing of it is unless we have that plan in place, and I know that we've got some planning things going on with the regional vision right now, and that's one thing altogether. And I know it's going to be more work for our county manager and the economic development folks and everybody else. But I'd like to recommend that we explore, and not just explore, but to go ahead and establish a capital projects committee. And to have that for a plan, not just for the next 4 years, but the next 20 years, and to try and put that in place. And then under that, I would recommend, Commissioner Williams, is that under that, you can have the study for a jail, and we can also have a study with regard for that of a DSS facility. But right now, we're understanding it is that the monies through the 1571 process that I've learned about is that we need to strike while the iron's hot, and with all the motion going on, as we heard in our workshop earlier from the folks that are looking to mental health services and those that are dealing with possibly putting everything together for, 3 different segments of North Carolina, all fighting for the same Medicaid dollars. Yeah, regionally. So, Commissioner Williams, I'd ask if you would be in favor of having that committee, to have that put in place, and then under that umbrella, we can have those various study groups to look at those projects.
But, this was a capital building for DSS when they built it. And it's probably grown 3 times as much as it was built for.
Right.
And I have no problem with seeing it first. But I do want to do it.
Okay, let me just ask you, would you go with that? How about the other board members about having that plan? And Greg, you and I have had the heart about it, about having a plan for capital outlay. And you look at, taxpayer dollars, there they are, they're building this for the county, they're building this for the other. But we have been in dire need of facility for this county for a very long time. And with this, we're going to entertain a separate motion if I can, with Commissioner Williams' support, that we can go ahead then and establish a capital projects committee. And then under that, we will have the ability to go and have those various committees for jail, have a committee that's going to be put together for DSS. And with this caveat with this, you can't intermingle those monies with all projects.
Right, and
That's what's understood, is that you can't go building jails with 1571 money. You can't go and commingle those funds to build one facility. So that's what I understand and what I know. So I would ask if we have a motion to entertain a motion that we have. If it's not already existing, I know there's the semblance of that, Mr. Manager.
Yes, sir.
And I'm not going to say it's replicating, but let's go ahead and put an official seal on this.
That would be fantastic.
And saying that we can have that plan ahead. And I'll volunteer to be on it. All right, to be able to do that. This is another motion, and I'm not forgetting about you, Ms. Birchfield. Can we go ahead and have that motion to have that committee for a project? We have a motion? We have a second? Have a second. Any question or comment with regard to this? All approved? Okay, all opposed? Okay, that's it. All right, with this comes with recommendation from the DSS board, a separate and sovereign board, asking that they can have a building committee to go and start looking at the prospects of a new facility. And I would recommend too, right away what's on my mind, is that the folks at the Sheriff's Department and those that are interested in the process of a jail do the same. Or any other thing that's going on. But it's got to come through him, all right, as a part of that. But with this, with DSS and this DSS board, which is sovereign as I see it, is that, they're bringing this and they're going to have to work with this. As if the sheriffs were going to build the jail, then the sheriff would be doing this. Or if another department, like we're going to have some things hopefully happening with our transfer station. There's still going to have to be decisions made. And we need to have input as much as possible. So I've gone on tired. All right,
Chairman
so with
Edwards,
that, yes,
before you
ma'am.
make that motion, I would just like to clarify that I've been before the board in past, previously, in regards to this situation. There are things that I would not disclose in open that are related to this building and the need to expedite this process. So that's noted among the other commissioners, but that's part of what's coming from the DSS board, that we have some serious concerns that are requiring that this be expedited. And with that, as we move forward on this committee, that we would be able to bring back the reports to the Board of Commissioners.
In open,
Yes,
but I heard you say something.
in open, the committee reports, I'm talking about.
I hear closed, my skin crawls.
Okay.
I make a motion that we let the social service board pick their committee and present it to us, and that Chief Judge and the sheriff present their board to the committee, to the board, and you and Andy needs to be on both,
Yes, sir.
okay? I make that motion that we do that in that manner.
Does that satisfy your request with the DSS board having this ability to come together with the building committee? As you hear?
As a here, as long as
It's
the
under the-
caveat is in there that we are allowed to bring back to the commissioners
Yes, that's what he's saying.
immediately.
All right, is
What's
that
brought forth to
understood?
me.
Is that there'll be two
You
different
have it
projects?
tomorrow?
No.
Okay.
All right, okay.
If you have it before then, fine, call him, we'll get together. Ain't none of us can't get there, at least three of us. If you get something good, bring it to us.
Okay, all right, with that, Ms. Clerk, did we have that in a form? Would you mind reading that again?
Commissioner Williams made a motion that the DSS board pick their own committee and present the list to them. Alongside, at the same time, Sheriff Anderson and Chief Jailer Chuck Stewart present a list of recommendations for their committee, and that Manager Cable and Planner Andy Cable will be on both of those boards.
And I'd like to say too, under that umbrella that we previously established of a house, of this, okay, I don't want to complicate it.
Can I add one? That my chairman, the commissioners be on both boards.
I can live with it.
Can I ask one question?
Yes.
I'm just asking this for clarification. Why could the committee not report back to this, to County Manager Cable and to this board, the findings of the committee?
Yes.
So that it's separate from the proceedings of this board, and it's not seen as that's commingled. This committee serves its own purpose to do this study, brings forth their recommendation, and it's presented to County Manager Cable and to the Board of Commissioners, then you're separated from that process until the point where you give your OPN approval.
Right, two separate projects. That's what the intent is, and I hope we're capturing that.
But you'll serve on the committee itself, the building committee, that's my question.
You don't want me there?
No, I'm just wondering if that would not be clearer, if there's a separate committee that then is not commingled with this board in any way, and that they bring forth their proposals to County
Absolutely.
Manager Cable and to
Absolutely.
you.
I'm not going to be on there to establish this committee. I would like to be a member of that committee with permission from that board.
Okay,
Will that
so
work?
it's left to the board to determine their
Yeah,
committee.
he's thrown me in there, okay, saying that I'll be on those, if it's all right.
Okay,
Or we can wait until you say, well, we'd like to have Sharon Edwards on there, or whoever. Does that make sense?
yeah, and I'm not opposed to either one
But
of you being on the
I
board.
wanna tell you
I
too,
don't want y'all to hear that, I'm
We
just saying
are-
for purposes of,
we are dealing with two autonomous bodies,
right,
and we're going to respect that at every turn. And in that, with the recommendation that's been made, that we have these studies done, we've already having this projects committee, this project plan that's going to develop. And in that, you're bringing to this board a request from your board about having the ability to establish a planning committee. And that's doing there. And at the same token, the sheriff's department is looking about a new jail. Those are two separate things under the same umbrella.
right.
All right.
But through
Yes.
our process of our board, we already have a commissioner representative in Mr. Eller, and so he would serve in that capacity on the committee. And then likewise, that's what I'm saying, if this board had its own separate committee that did the research, brought forth the proposal to County Manager Cable and to the rest of the board after it's compiled, then it remains separated.
Okay, I understand that. You see it?
What she's paid paper was all the same name.
All right. So good. Is that agreeable? I mean.
I didn't hear what he said.
No. But with this, in all seriousness, now, let's make sure we understand that it's under one umbrella. And
I
they're two-
understand that.
And they're two separate. And yes, I would, those committees would bring recommendation for membership. And in this, he's thrown into this motion that I be on there. And, otherwise, fine, I'll bow. I mean, the representative from the board is already there on that existing board. So that may be something, easy come, easy go. We can come to the determination. But we want to make sure that we're getting done what we need to be done.
Right.
The recommendation from your board.
Right.
Otherwise, that do that, Mr. Clark?
Yeah, clear as mud.
Read it again, please.
Claudia's alluding to is Manager Cable not being on the board, but they presented it to Manager Cable to present to you. Is that how you're proceeding?
That's where I'm proceeding from, as far as,
And mine?
so that it, and you, because that way it remains separate. It's a study that's been done independently by the Department of Social Services Board without influence from either the county manager or the board of commissioners.
Right.
Once that's done, we'll take into account any information that might be want to be passed along to us, and then at that point, we'd present it to Manager Cable to bring forward to be put into this larger study of capital
The
campaign.
only thing that I see the side of that is that, as we're gonna form a building committee umbrella, and there's gonna be many different committees that are gonna be formed out of this, whether it be, whenever we have a facility for vehicle maintenance, there's gonna need to be, you know what I'm saying? So I think that it's gonna be important to have representation, a part of all of that in order to kind of keep a grip on it.
Okay, all right, I see where the confusion's coming, I do believe.
So I think that, you're right, whenever we're looking at capital projects, it's gonna be easier to talk in terms of what we're gonna be able to do if we know up front what.
Yeah, all right, Manager Cable, if I could please, this idea of having an overall county plan is a separate issue. We want to do this, we need to do this, we need to do this. And with that, under this umbrella, we know that we need this facility, we'd like to have this. But in this, we're talking about the DSS board now coming and saying that they bring recommendation from their existing board, saying that they would like to study for a facility.
Yes.
And with that, I understand what she's saying, the recommendation will come to that board, bringing the names through you for that composition of that
That's
board.
right.
And then we can have that to be studied in that committee. And then that would be brought through you to this board.
Yes, sir.
All right, I think that's how manager government works, or supposed to work.
Checks and balances,
Checks and balances.
absolutely. You've got
Yeah.
something separate being
I
brought
understand
before
that.
this board.
Okay, so is it okay at this juncture that I, whatever that evolves into being, I'm not gonna be on the study committee, but I would like to be on in the process at some juncture. And if that's not gonna work, Commissioner Williams has made that recommendation, and that's fine. It may turn out differently, because we're gonna be doing some new assignments here eventually.
Well, at that point, then a workshop at the time of presentation from this board, then we would call a workshop between the county manager and this board and the DSS created building committee board. And at that point, it would be a working effort on all parties.
Absolutely. That sounds wonderful. Does that sound like it? I'm still involved?
My motion stands.
All right, let me meet the requirements. Read it again, please.
Commissioner Williams made the motion that the DSS board pick their committee and present the list to you as a whole. And the Sheriff Anderson, Jail Chuck Stewart present their list for a committee to you guys, with the condition that Manager Cable and Planner Andy Cable be on the board, as well as Commissioner Edwards. They
Okay.
serve on both boards.
On the development board?
No, on both boards.
That was
Jail
his
and,
motion.
and the
So I need to
DSS.
be on both of those planning boards?
I will take the jail board.
There's just one plan, there's just one capital plan for.
Okay, all right, we're spinning our wheels. I think what it's gonna be is, and I understand where he's coming from, is that we have a representative from the Board of Commissioners that would be a part of it eventually. And that they would come with a recommendation, and then Raymond wants to be on this board with regard to the jail, and I would be asked to do the other. Is that it, Raymond? Okay, is that what we captured in that? I wanna make sure we get it right.
That was for Commissioner Williams' motion, yes.
Okay, do I have a motion that you've already made the motion. Do we have a second?
I think the DSS board needs to pick their name.
Right, that's what they're gonna do. That's what they're gonna do. Okay. Yeah, that's what this is doing.
This is not us picking
No,
here.
no,
And the sheriff's department saying.
no, okay, no. I don't wanna pick it, personally.
We just wanna know who's on there.
Yeah,
You just wanna know who's on there, but part of the motion was that,
For approval.
But, but these three have been a motion made that they be on both boards, or him.
In some, yeah, I understand that, I do. Is that still clear now? Everybody got it? Do I have a motion, do I have a second? No second?
I'm still confused.
All right.
DSS, how many people in the house?
well, the question comes back to, you're saying that the DSS board will pick its own people, but
Right.
then the motion is saying that they'll pick their own people with County Manager Cable, Andy Cable, and that's still part of the motion, correct? So the only thing that we're asking is that that be pulled off, that the DSS board creates its own committee that will then present to county manager and the board of commissioners in a workshop session,
Right.
separate from one another. This other overarching capital campaign committee, you know,
That's a different.
that motion meets all the requirements
But
there.
where I'm at with this is, if you're gonna be talking about a capital project, and you're talking about facilities and locations, you're gonna need, at the minimum, the county planner on
Oh,
a board
absolutely.
to be able to reasonably assess this. Now, whether it's someone from finance or the county manager, I think that it's gonna be necessary to have someone with that in the board.
Right.
To be able to say, hey, that's a doable scenario.
Right. And again, back to your question of names slated, Michelle Crisp is the board chair. She also works in finance, so she would be the person that would cover finance. Keith Eller would cover the Board of Commissioners. He's also on the DSS board. Andy Cable was mentioned, Juanita was mentioned. But again, the DSS board would come up with those names. And again, the study would be based on what would be in the best interest of the Department of Social Services moving forward. And then we would present to you how it would be funded, the 1571 process, what's coming down there, and then it would come back to county management, to this board, to review and move forward.
I understand that. You understand that? Do you have something, so?
We approve the board, bring it back to the commissioners.
Right. But still, we've already passed that there will be a capital project plan. And under that, I mean, that's, and under all this comes those facilities. At this juncture, we have DSS board coming and saying, we're gonna form a planning committee. And in that, they'll plan it, they'll come and bring that, the board composition will come to Greg. And then presents it to the board for approval. And then at that juncture, and I understand that, we're going to respect the autonomy of that board. And what happens with that is, if I ask, can I be on it? You know, it's going to be there. But the county planner, the county manager, and this board's going to be involved in a capacity one way or the other. But what it comes to,
Absolutely.
yeah, and y'all are bringing this recommendation as a jail. Whenever they put together their committee, it will come by the same process, coming this way and put together that committee. And he wants to specialize with the jail, and, you know, because, you know, he wants to do that. And then if I have opportunity in the process, you know, as that, but I don't want to be an influence on the composition of the recommended board.
All roads lead to the commissioners.
It does.
All roads lead to the commissioners.
always
We're
does.
just asking for a separate board that would bring you this proposal.
Were you asking for a board or a committee?
A committee, I apologize, a committee from our board.
Yeah, from her board. All right, let's discussion with that. Ms. Clerk?
If you withdraw Manager Cable and Mike Edwards from, is that the two that you wanted withdrawn from the motion?
For now,
For now.
for now. But we find ourselves able to work later.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Brenda said that's
Can we do that with those? All right, again? And then we have a motion and a second with those changes. If we have some other input.
Well, I mean, I think what I'm hearing, and this might work, is you had your overarching committee for the entire county in place where you would have a commissioner, which you're already going to have a commissioner from the DSS. You have a commissioner and the county manager and planner, and I'm gonna put the finance in because we need to be in there as well. Then you could have your subcommittees, DSS subcommittee, jail subcommittee, whatever other subcommittees who could be sitting at the table at that overarching committee. They could be committee members. And that way you would have a good open flow of information, and I think you'd still get there.
But there's not always going to be that committee.
There could
Well,
be. In our case, there is. And I
All right.
think what Becky's saying
And
is
you-
absolutely right. Here's your
Yeah.
capital campaign. Anyone who's coming forward should put together their own. Just as Commissioner Williams
Right.
suggested that the jail use the same process.
Right.
Absolutely.
I think that's what I was trying to say.
Yes, it
It
is.
is.
I
You
said
did
that.
very
The
good.
motion is not that way. The
We're not
motion is-
getting nowhere.
I know it.
let's let them present to us, their committee, and then we'll work.
And we need, and then I will present to the board
Yeah, right.
an overarching committee for the county. That's basically gonna be the umbrella for the smaller.
And we do that through a workshop process?
It's kind of like shopping. We
That'd
picked
be
up the
great.
first thing, we're gonna
I
come
like-
back to what we
I
looked
like
at
the
first.
workshop.
All right, with that then, do you have to have somebody to withdraw the
Withdraw
motion?
the motion.
All right, and with that, all right, we have if someone to entertain a motion, please, upon the request of the DSS board for composition of a building committee. Have a motion?
Second.
I have a second. Any further discussion?
No.
Okay, all approved? All opposed? Thank you very much.
Sir,
Yes.
can I get a motion to form the overarching?
Did I already, we already did that, didn't we?
That was just for the DSS committee.
No, we only had a motion on the floor.
You
Do
mean I'll
it
let-
all.
I'll let that go?
Yeah, now you went and withdrew that motion. Now you have to do the overarching.
Capital Building Plan Committee.
Yes, capital building planning committee, which I will present to the board.
So move.
Have a motion?
Second.
There's a second. Any discussion? And that was for the umbrella. That's what this is about.
Capital Building.
For the whole county.
Yes, sir.
Have a motion, have a second. All approved? All opposed? You guys look weary. I am too. All right then. All right, that
Thank you for
takes
your
care
time on
of it.
behalf of the DSS
Thank you.
board.
While we're on this subject,
Yes.
my bottom line, where the money coming from?
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
Where's the money coming from?
Well, we've got to prove the money, that's why I wanted them on the board.
I would recommend to this board, it takes a year to get a bond referendum on the ballot.
Yeah.
It takes approximately a year. I'd recommend to this board that we present to the people a bond to build this jail. We need a jail desperately, because each month we pay money to these other counties for inmates and men, and it's a never, it's
right.
it's a never-ending problem.
Yeah.
And it's gonna continue because the populations are getting greater each year.
Right.
The debt's gonna get deeper and deeper. That's money gone. Let the people decide whether they want a jail or not. If they want to send their money to Florida County and Cherokee County, that's fine with me.
I know what, we've got to have the figures to put on the back when we get.
That's right.
And
So that would be, that's where the committee would come in.
I'm not going to anybody say we didn't need a jail.
No. But you have to understand too, that that's gonna add to the mill on the bond. Am I not right?
That's the reason I'm getting back to the people. You, me, you, we're gonna have to put this bill.
Right.
And we're putting one now, which you pointed out.
Put it
Ready to
before
go.
the people.
Go
If
into
they
another
say
county.
build a jail, go up on the millage rate and build a jail.
And have that designated.
That
Designated
way,
budget.
Until we
everybody
use
will
the
be
figures,
paid.
we keep.
That's right. All right, that's where this comes in with this committee.
Yes, sir. I'll have that ready to present to the board at the next meeting.
Okay. All right, we can do that. And we'll need to learn about the bond, the issue of, having a referendum and see what the requirements on that and study it out. And well, I guess we need to have that presented too,
Okay.
if you would, please.
I can certainly do that.
Okay.
Chuck, you have something?
Chuck, come up, answer a few questions and people understand why we need a jail. Use well named, that's it.
Welcome.
Thanks, board, for being here. I don't know,
Yeah.
back a couple of weeks ago, we were giving about $10,000 a week to other counties. Not county paying people to go down back for it to get them.
Okay, I'm sorry, John, I missed what you said there at first.
Raise that up.
Yeah, just get the microphone up a little bit. I'm hard of hearing.
We were spending right at $10,000 a week just on hold for out-of-county inmates.
That's
State-
money gone, ain't it, Chuck?
Money gone, it's gone.
Money gone.
And the vehicles I've got, they've all got over close to 200,000 on them. It's just constant go. I have to keep at least 8 people just to do my transports, just to run all the time. And it's, to be honest with you, it's a mess trying to, we failed in 4 different counties because the other counties get full, they won't host for us, they won't. But, you know, it's something, my opinion on it, and I'm not for shutting jail down at all,
We can't.
but for my opinion on it, if we're gonna keep going at this rate, you'd be better off shut it down. Because we're having to staff this jail, plus pay all these other jails. I mean, something needs to be done one way or the other. It's just, we're throwing a lot of money away.
Did you say $10,000 a week?
That's just in holding fees.
Hold.
We was up, our numbers was up, we got up to 32 inmates. And it just, we don't usually average that much, but our average is around 43. I think our average is, we average probably close to $15,000 a month.
Chuck, let me ask you one question.
Use your microphone, Bill.
And, you're well familiar with the jail. If and when we can build a new jail, what size capacity jail would you say Graham County needs for both women and men?
I would say, to me, I would build at least a 40-man jail to carry you on into the future.
30, 40.
30 or 40, yeah. I mean,
30 or 40, 30 to 40 of each, or?
no, that's just a total.
That's total.
And, yeah, you don't need as many female beds. We could hold, right now, if we could hold 10 females, we'd be good.
I'll tell you, the reason that I said, Chuck, that we can't close the one we have, I know that we had this conversation earlier, is about having holding for court. Isn't that an issue?
Yeah, I mean, we don't, if you closed it, then we'd have to probably hire more people if we closed it, just to keep everybody to where they need to go.
What's your total employees for the jail now, Chuck? Total
Yeah.
employees?
Total
Total
employees
employee,
for the jail.
I've got 8 full-time, and I have 8 part-time. And the reason I have to have that many part-time is just for doing commitments and doctors,
Yeah.
this kind of stuff.
It's an expensive proposition all the way around.
It's a bad business.
And if I was to ask you right now about how many dollars would you need in a year, you couldn't tell me, could you?
No way.
No.
No idea.
Well, see, that's what we shoot at. We don't know.
What do we pay if the jail's full here a month for meals?
The meals, I don't know what that contract is running now, for sure.
It's a minimum of 5 per.
It's a minimum of 5. The state says I can just hold 8, but I've been holding 12 just to try to cut costs. And I mean, I'll probably get in trouble here before long, but we'll deal with it with that.
Yeah.
But, you know, the state says I can hold no more than 8, but I average 12 inmates up here. I mean, I have to pay to staff this jail anyway, so we might as well always keep it. Because it saves you money, but I mean, you know, we need one. That's really all I'm saying about it.
Even if we build a jail, we'd keep so many of those up there for court, wouldn't we?
Do what now?
If we build a new jail some other location, we would leave some of those cells for holding while they was having court. would we
Yeah,
not?
yeah, you'd still have to have something unless you. I
But
don't know.
not staffed all the time, but just when they're having court.
Right, yeah. You would still need that probably. If you didn't do that, then you'd have to look at a whole new administration building,
Yeah.
courtroom, jail, altogether. I like, I've been over Clay County with the way they did theirs, you know. I don't know nothing about the cost of all this, but this is something that their courthouse and jail and sheriff's office is all right up the same ridge right there, so.
Right.
It's real nice. The way they did theirs is nice.
Right.
Makes it easy.
Well, I'll tell you, I appreciate you letting us know that $10,000 a week You know, it comes down to the issue of the cash flow thing, you know, about having those dollars. But, you know, with what Commissioner Holder has recommended, you know, with the, I hadn't thought about a referendum on that, but it would be a commitment on the part of the citizens of the county, and to realize how much we do need one. And,
Could we get that on the, thing rates about?
I don't think it'd be on this cycle. And I'm telling you, I don't know.
It takes about a year to get done.
I think there's a process, and I'm not sure about the actual process, so we need to find out about that.
I don't know.
And I think too, there's a petition involved, is there not?
Yeah.
A petition that you have to go through in order for something to come up on referendum, so, but it needs to be entertained. And two, Chuck, I appreciate everything you do with what we got to do with it. And I've only been in this about 3.5 years to know about it, and how many times that inspectors come around. And every time you have to kind of put it back together. And I appreciate everything you do with that, you and your staff. Any other questions or comments from Chuck, please, here?
One eighty.
Yes.
How long would it take us to get something on the ballot for it?
On a referendum, what's the process, do you know?
Yes, it's, you couldn't be changed by the fall. You'll not get it on one by May, I don't think.
No, but the bank election,
Good by then.
Yeah, it may cancel the primary. There's a process. What was the referendum on? I'm sorry, I was talking to Don, I put it listed.
on the jail, on the new jail, what the people wanted.
Oh, yeah, the people, no, you could get that on by May, or you might be able to.
Well, we're gonna have that
But there's
explored and
not-
see.
we're gonna do
I
that.
think it'd take longer to get figures on what it would cost.
Have to have a
I
plan.
think we'd have to shoot for, yeah,
For November.
That's where that cap.
November at the.
Capital plan.
at the earliest.
Yeah,
Because there's a lot of work to be done between now and getting a referendum to the ballot line.
absolutely. Okay. All right then, Chuck, thank you very much.
And we're all for it, we're gonna work on it, but there's a lot.
Chuck, would
We
you
gotta
have
get
something else?
LLC, we've gotta do the whole
Do
gamut.
what?
Did you have something else?
Yeah, I did. I don't know if it's time to do this.
Okay.
The credit card got took away from the jail. And that charge on the card was $102. That was, made by the sheriff or one of his assistants, I don't know who. And, it was $102. He come, would use the card and, bought, I think, lunch for SPIs and people that come in to do a roundup. I work for 3 different sheriffs, and this is something we've always done. They've always bought lunch for outside agencies that come in to help with stuff like this. And I know it's been mentioned me going and signing the card out and this kind of thing, and I just, if I have to sign it out, then my people's just going to make it the best they can, because I ain't got time to, you got nights and weekends. And I'm not gonna run back and forth and try to sign it out every time. Well, I think the charge that was on that card, I don't know, I don't wanna get tied in with what's going on with the other card, I'm telling you what's on my card. And my part-time transport officers are the lowest paid people that work for the county, and they cannot wait 2 weeks to get their money back when they have to go on transport. And I know cash was mentioned once, but, you can run into problems using cash. I like the credit card, I can see what's happening on it, and make sure everything on there being charged is right, and it's easy to keep up with. And that's where I'm at with it, so.
And that was the intention of the credit card.
It's for.
That out of town, that
It's
out
for
of
out of
town
town.
purposes be for.
It was, for out of town, we've used it for other stuff when we had to around the county. I mean, it's never my understanding that it was just for out of town stuff, so.
Okay.
And I mean,
All right.
my transport officer make $9 an hour. And they just help more than that, and I couldn't do it all the time myself, you know, I can't go to Raleigh and pay for all the gas and everything and wait 2 weeks to get my money back, I just can't do it. And I know they can.
And is there not a law too that the prisoners have to be fed every so often?
If it's not, we have to buy their meals, like if you leave early in the morning, we're going to Raleigh, and within so many hours, if you ain't got there, then we have to buy their lunch when you leave.
I think, I just want to address something real quick. Number one, your fuel should be covered with fuel card. That's separate from a credit card. They should
Fuel
have
is,
to buy
the
gas.
fuel is covered on the fleet card.
The second thing is that, you know, using the county credit card for out of town is exactly what it was designed for. And whenever there are purchases made, and it doesn't matter if it's jail staff or me or planning or whoever, anytime that there's a purchase made on that card, there has to be a pre-audit done on that. There has to say, hey, we need to put this on the card. Hey, we're going to Raleigh, we're going to be putting, you know, these meals on the card. That is all that needs to happen in order for any credit card within the county to remain active and usable. Okay? And I know it didn't have anything to do with you. Okay? I recognize that. But, you know, in light of, you know, the personnel matter and being able to address the needs of your men whenever they're traveling, that's what that card was intended for. And it's still available, you know, as discussed, to be able to.
Only way I can get it is come sign it out, and then, and what about night, you gonna come in and get it, or we're gonna call somebody to come and get it, or
No,
what?
you need, it's that. I mean, this is not a punishment against you or your department. I mean, it's not intended to be that way. And, you know, there are other part-time employees that make less than your transportation.
I've got the wage sheet right here, it's,
Okay. That's fine. I mean, I know what folks make in the county.
yeah, I do too, that's why I've got the wage sheet.
But, whenever it comes to, you know, the use of that card, as long as there's a pre-audit done, whether it's on a credit card, whether it's any expenditure of taxpayer monies, that's what has to be done. No one's saying it was your fault.
So what do we do on
What do
nights,
you want us to do
weekends?
with your credit card? I mean, you just don't want it anymore?
Do what?
What do you want us to do with your credit card?
If I have to come over there and sign it out, and, I mean, every time we use it, we get receipts, we turn receipts in, everything's looked at. I don't see what the problem is with,
The
if a
problem-
charge made to that card that shouldn't be made to it, you're gonna know about it.
That's right. And the county gets put into a position where there's a charge on a card because there was not a pre-audit done, where the finance
Okay.
officer cannot.
All right, I've just received, you know, we need to probably be careful about this going into Parliament. You know, if it gets into personnel issues, we're gonna have to go into closed session.
Okay.
And if that be your desire, Chuck, we can. I mean, because, you know, and listen, you know, we didn't come to the point about individual personnel. We can't go into that, not in open session. So I've got, you know, that's why I sit here. And I understand it, but there's other circumstances that are going to be addressed later on this very subject. And I understand at $9 an hour, you're going to have to go and get a reimbursement and wait for 2 weeks. I used to have to wait a month as a school teacher at $81.60 a year. Yeah, that's kind of crazy, but that was like way before you were even born. But the point is, I understand that and I hear you, and there's going to have to be some other way to go about doing this. If it is that, you know, it's at 3 o'clock in the morning, you've got to go. But I've heard too, if you got a planned trip, you can come in and get that planned out. You know, you get the advance.
But you don't plan when they.
I know you don't, that's what I said. And you know, we need to come to some terms of it. We're going to be addressing some other issues later tonight.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, I appreciate it, Chuck. All right, if we can, please, let's continue. Mr. Manager, I think we got down to...